Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Suit Up Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Adkins. Thank you so much for joining us again today. We are excited because we have one of my great friends that we've recently met not that long ago, but have had a great relationship in the period of time we've got to know one another. Miss Reba Hollingsworth. Hi, Reba.
Hi, Stephen. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad.
I was telling you, it feels a little weird because I'm used to being on the other side asking questions.
Right?
Now I get to be the one being interviewed. It's like, okay, I can do this.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, I like to get the business side done before we jump into the podcast. So all of you that are watching today, I really would appreciate to subscribe and to like the podcast. We've had some great feedback from our past episodes, and it doesn't cost you a thing, just a little bit of time to hit that subscribe button to keep up with. We've had a lot of interesting stories to tell. I've talked a little bit about myself personally and some of my background, and then some of our new guests and all. So it's just a great way to continue promoting the podcast. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, and now we get to dive right in. So Miss Reba, let's just start with doing a little bit of an intro of you and some of the things that you're currently doing, and then we're going to deep dive into some things.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm Reba Hollingsworth with CBS 6 News. I have been a TV journalist for almost 30 years.
Wow.
30 years. I started in Texas. I'm originally a Texas girl and made my way here to Virginia. And currently I do the morning news, which I love. And people always ask me, well, what time do you get up to do the news? I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oof.
What are y'all doing at 2 o'clock in the morning? I'm up at 2. I have a daughter, so it's kind of hard to go to bed. My second question is like, what time do you go to bed?
Right.
So I'm usually 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. Still not a whole lot of sleep.
Wow.
But I love my job. I taught at VCU. I taught Intro to Broadcast Journalism at one point, and I used to tell my students, you need to find a job that you would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning for, because you know you love that job if you're getting up that early to do it.
I'm with you.
So over the years, I loved telling stories, but I had this nudge to do something more. And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but not quite sure how I was going to do it or what I was going to do. And finally, it just happened in 2018, became an entrepreneur and created products to help the lives of people a little bit easier.
I love it. So you've had this career for almost 30 years now. So on the journalism side, really what inspired you or gave you that spark to know that that's the direction that you wanted to go in?
I think the spark was, I have this vivid memory of probably being about 7 years old, living in West Texas at the time. My dad is an oilman, so he used to go out and drill for oil, working for different companies. And Midland was a big oil town at the time. Yeah. And I remember just sitting on the floor watching Phil Donahue. You remember him?
Oh, of course.
Phil Donahue.
With his comb over and those glasses.
And running through the aisle with the microphone, all that stuff. Right. I used to tell my students, tell them the story about Phil Donahue. It was like crickets. Right. None of them knew who Phil Donahue was.
There's a certain age demographic that, are only going to realize who Phil Donahue really was. Right. I get it.
But for Oprah, that was her mentor, someone she watched, because, he was just so dynamic, run through the aisles, ask questions. But there was something so powerful about that to me. And true story, living in West Texas, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I didn't have a sibling yet. I would take my dolls and I would line them like in a circle, and I had intro music to my show.
I love it.
I would interview my dolls, and I just knew that that's what I wanted to be.
So you knew at a very young age.
Probably 6 or 7 years old.
That's amazing. So you were able to figure that out that young, and then did you gradually pursue that? Were you able to do anything? Obviously, you went to school and got your education for that.
Right.
But what'd you do between then and education?
I was just, a student. I played some sports, did a little bit of track, but I also loved modeling. I loved fashion. And I loved makeup. So my mother wanted to make sure I did it all right and just didn't, put color on my face and all that stuff. So she had me in modeling school. So on Saturdays, I would go to modeling school. I would work the runway. I would learn how to put makeup on, and even etiquette, how to set a table, all those things. And
home ec.
Yeah, that was home ec.
Good old home ec.
Yeah. And so that led to doing commercials in Houston. So as a child, I was doing commercials.
So you were already in front of people.
Yeah, in front of people.
From a young age, doing modeling. And I mean, talk about a confidence builder, right? And then being able to learn, especially in the modeling aspect, and granted, I can speak from personal experience, you're learning how to deal with all types of people.
Exactly.
and you sometimes have to just kind of be the person standing back and kind of observing. But sometimes you can get the best education just from going through those
Just
experiences,
doing it, right?
Learning how to develop relationships
Exactly.
and learning the ins and outs of the actual industry. So you were able to, from a young age, you started getting into modeling. So that was getting you in front of people.
Right.
You had to have that sense of confidence.
I did. But, at the same time, I felt like I had confidence, but I was also kind of shy. And if I wanted to do certain things in life, I think I recognized early on that you can't be shy if you want to do this, if you want to do that, if you want to act, if you want to do TV news, you had to put yourself out there. Sometimes it was painful a couple of times. I remember getting
100%.
stage fright and bumbling through some speech I had to give, but I kept getting up and doing it. And I think that's this metaphor of life. You're going to fall down, but you get up and you do it.
It's natural, I think, to have the butterflies.
Yes.
Even all the runways that I walked, or even the television commercials that I've done, you do get that little sense of, I think it's kind of a nervous excitement.
It is.
Not nervous that I don't feel like I can do it, but you're also like, I want to give it my best.
Right.
But in a way, I'm like, ooh. So do you still get the nerves? When you're going on?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
Not on everyday TV news, but if there was a special that we have to do, and especially if there's a live audience, because usually my audience is just the camera, hi camera, and that's it. But if there was like a room, full of people, I think I had to, maybe it was a couple years ago, we had to do a senatorial debate. And I was one of the ones asking the questions. It was a live audience. I was a moderator and live audience. So I had the little butterfly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I came through.
Yeah. But it's also, I think when you go through stuff like that, I think it's great character development in a way that you go through that experience and you have the nervousness and you get through it. But then the second time you're like, okay, I got this.
You got it.
And there's no other way around it. And I tell a lot of my audience too, especially when my modeling or acting work or even being a member of the Silver Fox Squad, talk about being in front of a few people.
Right.
You have to go through the experience.
You have to.
There's no other way around it.
And don't run from it.
Oh, no.
I mean,
No. You have to embrace it.
You do.
And you just.
And that's how you learn. And
rip
that's how
the Band-Aid
you fly.
off.
Yeah.
If you're going to fail big, but get back up again and do it again.
And you do it, right?
I'm right. I love it. So in your broadcasting journey, naturally there have been challenges that come with it. In almost 30 years, how do you feel? How did you overcome the challenges that came with your broadcasting journey? Like, give me some examples of some of the things that that you'd like to share about your challenges and how you overcame them. Because I know over 30 years, it hasn't always been.
Oh no, right.
Like the perfect scenario.
Right. I think one of the challenges is, we're talking about being nervous in front of the camera. Of course I went to school for it, but when you're actually doing it, I had to overcome the nerves, and your parents were the first to tell you the truth. Right. My dad said, "Why do you have this deer in a headlight look?" Because I was terrified, Dad. That's why. Yeah. But the more you do something, the better you got at it. The other challenges is, definitely broadcasters don't make a lot of money. And my very first job in TV was $12,000 a year.
Wow.
And when I go talk to kids and I say $12,000 a year, they they're like gasping. Even kids know that wasn't a whole lot of money, right? But, I tell that story to say that it motivated me to keep moving up the markets. Yeah. So I started in a small market, was market 200 and something. So basically one of the smallest markets in the nation.
Wow.
And ended up working at CNN at one point in my life. And so that motivator was, it wasn't always about the money, but definitely the opportunity. I had to live. So that was one of the challenges.
Sure. But you were in your passion.
I was in my passion. That made a difference.
So there's a big thing there too, audience. Yeah. I want you to hear that it wasn't so much about the money. Yes, we need money to live off of. But in essence, we're living in our passion. Mm-hmm. And by living in our passion, sometimes we can overcome the lack of compensation for a short time. Can't be that way all the time because we got to eat.
Yes.
We got to eat.
Amen.
But at the same time, keep pushing on, keep pushing on, keep pushing on.
And the opportunities just started to open up. And, we talk a lot about our faith. And I prayed the entire time that those doors would open, and they did. And one story I'd like to tell you, when I graduated from college, I went to school at Southwest Texas State University. It's in between Austin and San Antonio, off of I-35. Okay. Beautiful school, hilly campus and everything. And I thought I had a great education and learned a lot about broadcasting. And once I graduated school, I could not find a job for about a year and a half. I could not find a job. And I felt like I was prepared. I was this. And I was about to go get any kind of job just to work, right? I went back home and my mother was like, no, you're not going to just get any job and start making money and you get used to that money and you're not going to pursue what you went to school to do. So I had the backing, the support of my parents. So they really financed a lot of things for me, but I stayed home and made sure the house was clean. I cooked dinner. I had a little sister. We're 11 years apart, so I'm driving her to the library, picking her up from whatever she had to do. But that's what I did, to earn my keep in the house as they were supporting me. And I remember writing this letter to two anchors in Houston. One wrote me back and it was more like motivational, you hang in there, all that stuff. The other one, she actually called me like 6 something in the morning because she was a morning anchor in Houston.
She was up at 2 a.m.
She was up at 2 a.m. Yeah, so I know. So she called me, not that early, but she called me about 7 in the morning. She said, you are too comfortable. You are too complacent. You need to get in your car and you need to go to every small market TV station and put your face out there.
Come on now.
I was like, what?
Oof.
And so you know what I did? My dad took off work, whatever day that was. We did it a couple times and we went to just about every small market TV station in Texas and Louisiana.
Wow.
And that's how
that's some driving right there.
That was some driving. You know how big Texas is. Yes, right? And my dad, he loves to drive. So he was like, okay, this is heaven for me. So that's how I got my first job because I showed my face and they got to connect with me because these news directors are getting saturated with all these tapes. So how do you separate yourself from everyone?
And think about the time, I say this in the most nice way, but that was a few years ago.
Before internet.
Right.
And right.
That's my point. So they were still getting saturated and still having to dig through like you're just
tapes.
Another number.
Yeah.
I got so many tapes that I have to go through. So you really had to want it.
Exactly.
And you had to go out there and pursue it.
You had to go get it.
I love it. I had to do the same thing with modeling. There was times where if I really wanted to do it, I had to foot my own bill, pay my own plane ticket, get my own hotel. I wasn't getting paid $1. And I had to go out there to get my face known because you are in a sea of so many other
How do you separate yourself?
What are you bringing to the table?
Exactly.
It's going to be different than what anybody else is doing. And sometimes just picking yourself up by your own bootstraps. I mean, that anchor's advice was golden.
Right.
Gold. I mean, you remember it to this day. And I'm sure how many times have you imparted that to anyone else?
Oh, yeah. I pass it on. You just have to separate yourself. And now it's so much easier. I always tell the young journalism students, they can just send a link now. Send a link to a news director.
I could do it with my cell phone, upload it in 30 seconds, and then attach it to an email and send.
That's all you have
This
to do.
wasn't getting in the car, driving from Texas to Louisiana to get my tape in front of somebody.
And my dad saw that anchor a few years later. I believe they were at maybe a basketball game or something like that in Houston. He was like, I just want to thank you for what you did for my daughter and all that stuff. So,
Right. Still in touch?
No, we're not in touch. I just took the advice and just ran with it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great, to me, when I hear that, it is, that person was placed in your life at the right time for the right reason to give you the right word, which we all know where it came from.
Yeah.
Came from
God does that.
Lord. Right. There's no coincidence.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's always great when you can reminisce and see, where was that defining moment that changed.
Just turn your trajectory.
Change your trajectory for the rest of my life.
Yep, that's
and
it.
And if you hadn't gotten that call or good job, I'm going to encourage you. One was encouragement and one was you need to get up off of your rear end
and move it, girl.
And go do something. Wow.
Right.
I love that. I love that. One of the things that I really wanted to ask about your journalism journey is how has it created relationships through your journalism?
You just meet so many people and countless people.
Right.
But some of these people end up being my friends and these connections and my passion. And I believe I'm in this role for a reason. I'm not in this role just to be on TV, wear cute clothes, wear makeup. I think God uses me for a certain way, whether it's to tell someone's story that way someone else could hear that person's story, or because of my connections, I may know someone that can help them with whatever. So I think that's how God works. I think I was meant to do this job and to do his work doing this job.
I love it. So you're able to impart wisdom. You're able to impart your network of people. And you've been able to establish, long-term relationships.
Absolutely.
That I'm sure friendships that have lasted years and years and years.
Absolutely.
And just to think, and I think it's because when you're in your passion, people are naturally drawn to you
Right.
when you're in your passion, and they can see it and they can sense it. You always have the it factor, that different vibe, and it's more authentic and real.
It's real.
You're not just going through the motions. You're not doing it just for the paycheck. You're looking at it as it's a greater purpose.
Right.
Regardless as to what it is that I'm doing, whether or not I'm on the runway or I'm behind the desk or I'm sitting here on this podcast,
Right.
Or on the 6:00 news or whatever, you're being used in
There's
a
a
way.
purpose.
There's always a purpose.
Yeah.
I
I
absolutely.
totally agree.
I love that.
Totally agree.
I love that. So in your journalism career, this is a good question here. I like this. What was one thing in your career that you didn't expect?
Ooh.
Yeah. So in your 30 years of journalism, the one thing that you didn't expect.
Didn't expect.
It kind of surprised you.
You got to give me a second.
Oh yeah, take a second.
What I didn't expect.
Yeah. And we can come back to it if you need to marinate on it a little bit. I got you.
Well, you know what? When you're in school, you think, and you're watching news from home, that, oh my God, everything is just perfect. It is not.
Oh, see, there you go.
It is nitty gritty sometimes. It is, I barely have time to put makeup on before I get in front of a camera. I remember one time being in my car, I had a live shot. I basically got in my car, got there. The moment I stepped out, I got in front of the camera. So it's not like someone picking me up and driving me to my live shot. There are times I've been in woods. I've been shooting for myself. I've been eaten by ants in Texas. And it is not as glamorous as we think it is. There's a lot of
the finished product looks.
Yes, and covering stories in 100-degree heat. I mean, it's hot here, but also doing stories in Texas, because I didn't start out as just an anchor. I was also a reporter shooting for myself, and that was another thing, because you had to learn.
You had to set everything up, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. So it's like I would put a rock, right here where I'm standing, then go set the camera, and then go stand by the rock, because I positioned it. But yeah, it's like, it's not as glamorous as you think it is.
That's a great
Yeah.
what you didn't expect, because you see the finished product, you see, even I'll give a great example, like the podcast in the studio, but they don't see all the behind the scenes.
Oh, behind the scenes.
Everything, and it's not all a beautiful production all the
Right.
time. I would love to know like how many times everybody's like scurrying around and it's probably controlled chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And then immediately when the lights go on and the camera goes on, it's just like, you got to pull it together.
And we still have chaos even when the lights are on. Sometimes the video doesn't roll, or we lose a live shot, all that stuff. So now I'm to a point where we just roll with the punches. Like, we don't have that live shot, let's go to the next story, that type thing. And we know how to roll with it. It may be chaos in where the directors are and the producer, as long as that doesn't seep out into us. And
Sure.
And I always tell the producers I think the best producers are the ones who can get in my ear and say, Reba, just go to the next story. Oh, by the way, Richmond's on fire. I like that kind of soothness, instead of the ones like, oh my God, Reba, Richmond's on fire.
Right.
Because that makes me nervous.
Yeah, you're in.
I tense up. Yeah.
I love that. So you also have them constantly communicating with you, and and you don't know all the time what to expect. How many times have the best laid plans?
Right.
And then it just goes right out the window.
It can burn up.
and then you just got to adjust on the fly.
You do.
And I bet adjusting on the fly, that's just something you have to go through experience and enough times to go through.
You get better at it.
Not the deer in headlights. Right? Do you remember like the first time something like that happened? In an instance where it was it caught you off guard and you were like, whoa, boy, here we go. I got to take a left turn. In your early career? Or?
Yeah, definitely anchoring early on. I remember a flood in Victoria, Texas. I was doing mornings again, and I was the only one, and just...
Only one in studio?
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, they had some people behind the scenes,
Right.
but
I mean, you were the one on camera, right?
Yeah.
It was all you.
I was the only me. And so I just had to learn just to ad-lib, because ad-libbing was not my strength in terms of news. So I just had to get better at it. And I did. So you find out what your weaknesses are and your strength. Being in front of the camera with a teleprompter was great.
Yeah.
But when I had to ad lib the news story, I was a little nervous. Or when I had to be live and ad lib, I was a little nervous.
I love that you said you learn your strengths and weaknesses real quick.
I did.
And then you're like, okay, here's an area that I need for improvement.
I need to work on.
And
another one I had to really work on. I mean, I'm a Texas girl. I grew up in Texas, and there were certain words
bigger in Texas.
Bigger in Texas. And I would leave off the G and ing words.
Oh.
That was a big thing. So if I wanted to go do news, whatever market, I mean, you need to learn how to speak clearly. And I was like cooking. Things like that I would leave the G off.
Just naturally because of where you were from.
Yeah. So I took years of voice lessons to learn how to speak clearly and to slow down, because I could rip through a script in like 15 seconds.
So it's one of those, isn't that interesting that dialect. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So you had to do a little bit of sharpening the tool when it comes to public speaking.
Yes.
And pronunciation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that. I love it.
And I would have to say, it wasn't because I realized what that weakness was. When you're on TV, people call you and tell you what you do wrong. And so I was getting a lot of those calls like, she's not speaking clearly. I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to fix this.
Look, I love her on the news. She looks great. And the stories are fantastic. But my girl is just not pronunciating.
Yeah, we need to work on that.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah.
Like, hopefully they gave you some good stuff.
Yes.
And at the same time, like, here's some room for improvement.
Right.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So, obviously and we're getting ready to change topic here in a minute, but this is one last thing I wanted to know about, the journalism career is, and doesn't have to be necessarily just one, but one of the more important lessons, that you've learned from your career in broadcasting, any lesson that you've really taken away from it that you could impart to others in the broadcasting career?
I think I may have touched on it earlier. I just think, first of all, you know what your passion is, and to get better at what you want to do, whatever you want to pursue. And as long as I knew I wanted to be in TV, I had to be better at speaking clearly. I had to be a better interviewer. I remember just sometimes on the weekends, I was single at the time, had my, my own apartment, didn't go out a lot. And I would sit and just watch other anchors. I would study other anchors. Not that I wanted to be them.
Right.
It's just, but how did they get to that point? So study your craft, know your craft.
Yes.
And everything will come together. The money will come together. Your confidence will come together. The doors were open. All of that just works for the good, which we know, right?
I love it. So
opens for the good.
perfecting your craft.
Yeah.
Find your passion and just continue to invest your time and resources. Ask for help.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about, how did you reach out to some of your other colleagues, or did you ever seek advice from, other fellow anchors? That was a whole other aspect.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have conferences. I was part of the National Association of Black Journalists, and they were good at, sitting down with you one-on-one, looking at your tape. So these are big, news directors and general managers in our business. I mean, they were giants to really kind of impart that, advice to you. And so that was very helpful. But just, talking with my friends, like I said, I was constantly studying my friends. And one of my friends, Andy, he's in Houston. But when we worked together in Abilene, Texas, I'm like, how are you so good live? And he showed me his trick. He said, remember the first word for this. And then my next thought is going to be this. And I knew my first word for that. So finding those little, those little tricks.
It's like a tip and trick of the trade. And then I bet you can even just in your natural everyday life.
Yeah.
It's sharpening. I've noticed that even from some of the experiences that I've had and being in front of people and being in front of the camera and doing the podcast interviews, it's almost like, I'll say it like this, you almost feel like you're becoming more, well-rounded, more educated, more, I feel like I can handle myself with a little more confidence out in the real world.
Absolutely.
Because of the strengths that I'm picking up from all the other things. And they all translate. Even in everyday life, when you're meeting someone for the first time, or you're at a networking event, or even Fashion Week, which can't wait to get into Fashion Week, you're there and you're meeting individuals, and it's like you're learning more of how to communicate.
Exactly.
And that's all about communication and developing relationships.
And you do it every single day. So you just have to be the sponge and take it all in every single day.
Pick up the meat,
Yep.
leave the bones. I love it.
Amen.
I love it. All right, so now we're going to switch topics and talk about your entrepreneur journey. I was really, really excited about this. So I did a little bit of digging, and I was like, this is really, really interesting. And to me, in our brief conversation, the entrepreneur journey didn't really start in the best of circumstances, it sounds like.
Right.
However, and I'll let you elaborate on it, but taking not the best of circumstances and turning it into something now that is, making you more of an in-depth person.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneur journey.
So like I said, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what it was. But I felt this nudge, and you know where that nudge was probably coming
100%.
from, because I would complain almost every single day that I'm running late to get on the anchor desk, trying to put my microphone on. Because if I'm wearing a dress like I am today, it's like you're clipping it on your bra strap or your underwear, and it's a little TMI, but that's the truth. For a lot
Very
of women,
fashionable too.
Yeah.
Like, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. So when it just became uncomfortable, and sometimes if I'm out in the field, it may be another man helping me put that on there, and that's a little uncomfortable, especially,
Can
and
you
so,
get it on my bra strap,
yeah,
please?
you can
Thank
do that. Yeah. So I was like, it has to be a better way. And a lot of TV ladies, what they were doing, they would either take a headband, they would take a piece of elastic. We were jimmy rigging all kind of stuff on our leg. Someone would use an ace bandage. Someone took an arm of a sweatshirt, just something to tie around your leg so you could take the base of the microphone and just clip it. And I said, you know what? Instead of me fighting with this every single day, why don't I just create it? So I found I asked my seamstress, I said, can you make something for me? At the time, it was just for me. And then I said, you know what? Well, maybe I could really market this, because I think there could be a need out there. There are similar things on the market. Either they were more sports related or medical related, but I wanted something strictly for us to wear. And, I worked with, again, connections, people I've known for years. One is Elizabeth Tallheimer Smart, and that name Tallheimer. But she had a business in New York where she named companies and products. And so we worked together. I actually named my product, but it's through her that we work together. Every morning we're waking up, what about this name? What about this name?
The brainstorm.
Yes.
The foundation. I love it.
And working with a trademark company, like, okay, I like this name, but is that name taken? Yeah, you don't want that name. That may be a legal issue. And I came up with Aha Wrap, and because it was really my aha moment.
The aha moment.
After all these years. And so I'm just going to throw it up for a second. But this is actually my personal one. And then you can put a monogram on it. But I just put it around my leg, just like that. And the mic clips.
The mic clips.
Just like that. Really easy.
You basically solved a problem.
Yeah. But as you were saying, it wasn't the best of time when I came up with this idea. I was going through a divorce. And I'm like, is this the best time to really create a product? Because it takes money to create a product.
Okay.
And at that time, I'm losing an income. We were separating at that point, and just a lot going on with, being in and out of court. But for some reason, I don't think there is a perfect time to start a business.
There never is, Reba.
No. And I also think God was talking to me to start planting that seed of your business. And so I was constantly doing that. And when I was, I think it was also a good distraction. And whenever I kind of ran into a roadblock, like, oh, maybe I can't do this, I don't think it's going to work or whatever, it was just amazing, the door that God opened. One story was I wanted to see a friend I hadn't seen in years. She was married to a man whose sister is a fashion designer in New York. And he ran her business. I was like, boy, I wish I could really talk to him, because I had questions about fabric and how could I get it made and blah, 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 blah.
Manufacturing, everything.
All that stuff.
Yes.
I hadn't seen them. They moved out of our neighborhood, and I hadn't seen them in like 4 years or whatever. And I was at the station. I was walking. I hear, Reba. And I turned around. It was the man and the lady. And I'm like, God.
Here we go. She's like, and I pull up my list. Like, I have all of these questions I need to ask, right? For real. Like, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. So that was great. That's how that journey was. Every time I complained about something or frustrated about something, that door would open. It was like amazing.
See, and that's one of the things, you were walking in your purpose.
Yeah.
Where and I can speak from personal experience too, that you continue to go through it, and you are going to have ups and downs.
Yeah. Oh,
in the
gosh, yes.
entrepreneurial journey. I'm sure there was frustration and financial worry, and all of that comes through it. And I think that is a natural rite of passage that we all have to go through.
Right.
It doesn't matter what particular product or service that it is. If we just stay the course, and you know what, if God's in it,
Can't go wrong.
can't go wrong. Yeah, there may be times where it's delayed,
Absolutely.
but that doesn't mean that it won't come to fruition. It may just be delayed for a little while. And I think sometimes, and I'd love to get your take on this, I think sometimes our roadblocks or the things or difficulties that we go through are the purification process.
Yeah.
We need to go
Yeah.
through some of these things so we can work out some stuff so that when we do get that next step, even if it is a product, service, whatever, industry, career, that when we're ready for it, that door will open.
Absolutely.
And then we can walk right on through. And then you, again, look back and be like, I see it all along.
I see it now.
I see it all along.
And I think you appreciate it more because you worked so hard to get it.
Wasn't given to you.
And yeah.
You had to work your fanny off to get it.
I always say the miracle is in the mess. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Miracles in the mess. Excited to bring one of our sponsors to you today, Two Roads Hat Company. Two Roads Hat Company has been an amazing company to work with. It is one of the companies that Silver Fox Squad uses, and we call it the perfect brim. They have a great versatility of looks in straw and in felt. I absolutely love Two Roads. It's a small business, which we love to promote, and it's made here in America. So this is a great opportunity for you to go to tworoadshatscompany.com and pick up one of your new perfect brims. So that was your beginning
Right.
of the entrepreneur journey. So now that you had this particular invention, I love the fact you're now an inventor, not only an entrepreneur, but an inventor. What was your inspiration to move into different things now? Because that was your starts, and then let's go to the next one.
Right. So the other one is the bag, and it's called the Triversa bag.
Okay.
And both products came from being in TV. What were the things that made me just so frustrated? One was clipping my microphone. The other, there were times that I was constantly out in the field.
Yeah.
And I thought, I always needed a bag for my makeup, my extra pair of shoes, my lunch, because sometimes you don't get a chance to get back to the station or you're not by a restaurant to go get something to eat. I have water bottles, everything. So I wanted a bag that I could carry multiple ways, because there are times if I'm going into court, I want it on the shoulder. In the field crossbody, and it turns into a backpack as well. So instead of me, so this is the backpack way. I'll turn it this way. Yeah.
And it's fashionable.
I had to be fashionable. It had to be cute.
It's not just functional, like it looks good too.
Yes, it had to be cute. It's 100% vegan. Yes.
So again, a need.
Yeah, a need.
You had a problem and you tried to figure out a way to solve it. And were there, so really did you design that one as well?
So I had a little work with this one. I was able to put a little of my spin on the bag. So I looked for a particular product and I worked with the manufacturer to, put my spin on it. Like this one was totally created by me. This one I had a little help. So they gave me a launching pad and then I just kind of put on the wheels and, all that stuff to go with it.
It wasn't like you were at the sewing machine and having to put it all together.
Right.
Come up with the conceptual idea.
Yes.
But see, there's a learning curve there, because you come up with the idea, then you have to find manufacturing, you have to find supply, materials, recommendations from those that are either in the industries to say, this would work, but this really wouldn't work. So you're getting, education on the fly.
Absolutely.
That would have never have had.
The bag was easier. Because I was starting brand new with the wrap. That's where I really learned. But, you were talking about connections. Just the people that you meet is just amazing. And there are so many people who want to help entrepreneurs and share that knowledge.
Did you hear that?
There's so many people.
Yes.
It's not this type of industry like, I'm going to keep all the secrets to myself. I'm not going to help you because, I don't want to see you succeed. I've never run into that. In fact, people are like oversharing what they have. So I would just meet people. My seamstress created with me. I told her my vision and we created the wrap. But it wasn't working. It was like falling to my ankle. I was like, I can't have a wrap falling to the ankle.
In the middle of broadcast.
Exactly, because the batteries in a microphone, the batteries in your IFB box, that was just too much. And so I got introduced to a lady named Michelle. She's like, you know what you need? You need silicone elastic. This is what women wear when we wear strapless things. It says silicone elastic.
She's like, immediately, this is what you need.
She knew. She's an entrepreneur. She has a product that helps women with going through breast cancer. So that kind of knowledge. And I wanted a monogrammer. I was at the bus stop talking to one of my friends who I know is a monogrammer. And I said, oh, I need someone to do it. She was like, oh, talk to Liz. Liz is a stay-at-home mom, and Liz handles my monogramming.
I love it.
It's just
it's all about relationships.
relationships.
And that's one of the greatest joys that I find in my entrepreneur journey, and I'm sure you do as well. It's just like you said, the people that you can meet and those that really they have so much knowledge that you didn't know that they had.
Right.
If that, it's
Right.
I have nothing against someone that just wants to work the 9-to-5 job and that's their career. And
Right.
that's what they do. But there's such a missing piece when you're a business owner or an entrepreneur of some sort, that it's more to it than just the thing.
Yes.
It is, I get to learn more about people. I get to develop relationships with people. I get to learn all of their expertise.
Right.
Like you're saying, lady at the bus stop was monogram. And then, lady over here, she's doing this. And she's like, this is what you need right here.
Yes.
And you're like, and you get to that point, sometimes I'll say, where have you been all my life?
Right.
Like when you meet these people and they're just rolling out the red carpet on all of their knowledge.
Yeah.
That is one of the joys of
what I
this
love.
entrepreneurship journey.
And we want to help each other.
Yes.
Just how these ladies helped me, I pay it forward and want to help
There's no
someone else.
shortage. There's no shortage. I will give you 100% agreement on the entrepreneurship journey. There are so many people out there that are willing to help. And here's why. Because they've been there.
They've been there.
Done that, and they know what it takes. And when they see someone that's got that little glimmer of light, that they have that same kind of fire desire that I want to get out there and do it. And I find that even in all the things that I do, when you find that certain model
Yes.
that's auditioning for Fashion Week, and I see it, I'm like, they got that something.
Yeah, that little spark.
And then you want to impart a little more wisdom, or you want to help them a little bit along the way.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, they have to do the work. You can empower them, but they still have to put in the work and the effort. And then it's funny. I always say when I get entrepreneurial advice or I tell someone something, the next time that I see them, I don't want to see them with the same problem that I already gave them the answer
Yes.
to. If not, we're not going to discuss it
Absolutely.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love you and all, but we're going to
That's how I felt as a teacher sometimes. I'm not going to keep doing this.
circle that wagon.
You're going to have to
Right?
absorb it.
I know
take
the
it
Lord circles the wagon all the time until we learn our lesson, but that doesn't mean I'm going to circle the wagon with you, especially on this practical advice.
Right. Right.
Not having it.
You are so right.
So with the entrepreneurship journey, it's safe to say that you are an advocate for side hustles.
Oh, yes.
We can't
Yes,
do it without
I
side hustles.
love side hustles. And, maybe it's going to be a primary hustle one day. And, again, maybe it's something I pass down to my daughter,
Naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. And she's seeing mama,
Yeah.
not only do this, but the entrepreneurship journey. I'm doing the same thing with my two daughters. They see, Dad, what are you doing today? Like,
Yeah.
today, podcast today. I'm like, yeah, baby, this is
That's what you
this
do.
is what I'm doing, right?
That's
These
what
are
you do.
things that I'm planting seeds and I'm developing, and
That's it.
I'm showing them what's possible. And that was my whole point of this journey. All the way back in some of my earlier podcasts, I talked about my journey starting off at, was told I had a great radio voice. And then I was told that when I grew my beard that I should do something with it. And I got into the modeling aspect of it. But all of those lanes and all of those things that I'm doing all the way up to this point, doing a podcast, even today, looking at where I'm at and in the
Right.
studio, is to show what's possible. What you can do.
Amen.
If I can do it, you can do it. If she could come up with these ideas, you can too.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
This is going to be key on the entrepreneurship journey. Now, this is a good one. It's a good one. If there was a piece of advice that you could give to someone starting out as an entrepreneur, what would it be? Just starting out, they're thinking about, I might want to do this. I might want to branch out. What's one little nugget you could give them?
I don't know if maybe you're looking for something more profound, but I think just don't be scared.
No.
Don't be afraid to
I
do it.
love that.
You know?
It doesn't have to be, earth shattering.
Yeah. I used to think about other times when I wanted, like I said, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what it was, but I also think I was scared to do it. And not to say my husband at the time wouldn't be supportive, but I think you get immersed in your roles when you're married sometimes.
Oh,
and I
boy.
thought my role was, okay, let me make sure the house is clean, make sure there's food, make sure my daughter's picked up. And I think there are sometimes people come into your life as a season.
Yes.
And, sometimes things are removed for you to see your life in a whole new way. And I kind of feel like I've reinvented myself.
Totally.
And I know I have because even viewers will see it. Like I post inspirational things on my social media platforms all the time. They're like, you seem so different. Your eyes look different. You're glowing. You're this. Because I think I love myself. I love this place where I am, this space, this place, everything. Not to say the journey is always easy, but I love where I am. I'm 52.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I'm inspired by that because don't be scared.
Yeah.
Don't give up everything that you have. If you have a 9-to-5, don't give that up. Begin developing other things while you're still keeping your sound foundation and your safety net. But when you're getting started and you say you're a little nervous, a little scared, likewise, but you go through it. You what it is we're maturing as individuals.
Absolutely.
I don't care how old you are.
Right.
You could be 52, 47, 65, whatever. You're maturing and you're realizing, wow, and then you get that, you're scratching that itch of I'm doing other things that I'm passionate about. And then you feel more fulfilled. Then you feel like, okay, I can do anything.
Yes.
I don't feel, now I'm, as I've said many times before, if I don't have 10 things going on at one time, I'm feeling like something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Right. If it drops down to 8, I'm like,
What happened?
what's missing? I only have 8 hats I'm wearing right now. I'm looking around like, I'm talking to my wife, Lisa, is everything, like something's going on. We got to figure out something. And then they get it back up to 10 things going. I'm like, okay, now I'm good. Because we want to perform at a high level. I think entrepreneurs are high performing people.
Yeah.
They have to be because we wear all the hats.
We do.
Literally.
We do.
As the 2 road hats are right here. We wear all the hats. HR, marketing, production, manufacturing, sales, face of the franchise, all of it. But
you do it all.
It helps us. It helps us. And then it's whatever I've learned, whatever I have picked up, I can then use that. And God's going to bring it back around to use that and to impart unto others to help them along their way.
Exactly.
So with all of that and all of these experiences, you were asked to write a book.
A book.
So here we go. Let's talk about it.
So the book is called Lipstick and Legacies, which I'll love.
How fitting.
So I have a good friend here in Richmond, Holly Bird Miller. And Holly is a makeup artist here. And it's now evolved to a branding business. And she always had a vision to write a book with ladies and sharing our experiences as entrepreneurs. And this has been so cathartic and so good for me because I never really talked about my divorce, but I think my divorce was that thing that propelled me to go.
Had to have been.
And there were some other things I talk about in the book that within a 5-year span, I lost my mother, my grandmother, my best friend, and then the end of my marriage. So there was something about that just changed me and not to go into this grieving stage of my life, but to what can I do differently with my life? And I think that's really what pushed me into entrepreneurship. So I talk about that in the book. So we all just kind of talk about our experiences. And I talk about, how I got started in the business, which I did a little bit here today. And then just what's the lipstick part, with Holly being in makeup, that's where that title came from. But the legacy, what do we leave behind? What is it I want to leave behind for my daughter and other entrepreneurs? And I kind of mentioned it. We just got to be there for one another. We can't keep all this knowledge to ourselves. We have to be able to share that and help another entrepreneur because this product, you see this one thing, but it took a small village of people to help me get to this point. It wasn't just Reba that I'm all that and I did it. It takes a lot of people to help you to do it.
100%. Was this your first time writing like this?
Yeah, I write for a living.
Yeah.
So I write stories. So it was a little like I'm writing about me. So we're usually just writing about other people or that story or
It
whatever.
was more turning. We got to turn it in now.
Yeah, I got to turn it. And it was good. It felt good to write.
Did you, after have your part's done, right? It's
Yeah.
all finished? Okay.
Uh-huh.
When you finished writing it, I'm sure you read it.
So, yes, I read
Your part.
Yeah, I read my
Did you
part.
look at it and be like, look what I'm a little bit of a bad butt. That's what I'm saying, right? You kind of
I felt kind of good.
So I'm gonna rabbit trail for just a moment. So many times we're in the midst of doing what we're doing, and we're so focused that we forget how far we've come.
Yes.
Or we
You're so
forget,
right.
or like the accomplishments. We feel like, oh, I'm so far away from where I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm so far down. I'm just getting started. And I tell myself that all the time. And then I take a moment and somebody will remind me or whatever. And then you reminisce, and you've kind of inspired me that I almost want to sit down and kind of write my story out
Right.
as well, because there's things that you can communicate and talk through podcasts, but there's intricate details when you start to really get into it that you forget about, but you put them on paper and you look back and you're like, man,
Yes.
so was it empowering to you?
It was just to see it, like you said, in print that, oh, this is what you accomplished. Sometimes I get that when I'm out in public and someone will say, oh, I've watched you for years, or thank you for being in, and then you forget, oh my gosh, to me, it's my job to be on TV.
Yeah.
But to other people,
people.
yeah.
Imagine that.
Isn't that something?
I love it. So that's really cool. So, one of the beautiful things about that is that it's going to be out there forever.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's done. And so is it too early, or can we talk about when the book's coming out? Do we know?
So the book will come out in October, but it'll be ready for the audience around September, mid to late September, but it officially comes out in October.
Okay.
Don't have the exact date yet.
That's-
But, we see something bigger with this, that we love speaking, we love the platform. So we already have certain gigs already lined
So
up.
the ladies of the group are
Yeah.
gonna start
Yeah.
doing a little touring.
I would love to do not only just the book tour, but have conferences. Let it be a weekend of women just coming together and sharing that knowledge. Things like, how to put together a headshot, how to pick the best photos, or how to get up in front of whomever and speak. How do you write a book? How do you start that business? All that knowledge that we all have.
Yes.
Let's do it on a weekend basis
100%.
and have this little spiritual
It may
awakening.
be a ladies' weekend, but I'm gonna be there taking notes myself. I'm sorry. I'll be in
You're
the
gonna
back.
be there.
I'll be in the back. I'm like, yeah, let me get some pointers here, because
Yeah.
that's another thing too. We can never stop learning.
Oh, absolutely.
I will, any opportunity where someone's doing big things like that, I'm like, what can I take from that?
Yeah.
I'm never, I learned a long time ago. I don't care how successful, how many faces I'm in front of, whatever networks that I'm on, or how big I've become. I am still humble enough that I want to learn from everybody. Everybody
Right.
has a story.
Yes.
Everybody has experiences to learn from. And if you're willing to be coachable, bring yourself down enough a level to where you can sit down and be like, hey, how do I write a book? How do I pick a headshot? You speaking my language there. I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you find the right kind of photographer
Photographer.
that takes the right kind of headshot for what it is you want to do? So all of that wisdom within this group is gold.
Yes.
Is gold.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. So we'll definitely have the details within the description about the book and the ebook, even as it comes, and we can make some alternate changes to make sure we get that information in there.
But you're right.
That's exciting.
You never want to be at a point in your life where you say, I've arrived, because I don't think we ever arrive, because you are constantly learning.
I haven't arrived.
Yeah.
I haven't arrived at all. I'm realizing how much I don't know. Right? I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. I'm moving along the way, but then I'm like, oof.
I'm driving fast in a convertible with the wind blowing, but I ain't got there yet.
Look, even just from the podcast and the guests I've had, I'm like, man, I'm learning.
I know.
I'm learning so much, and it's been a lot of fun. It's in the earlier stages. We've moved along pretty good, but just from the few guests that I've had, and you're learning so many neat things, and you're
Right.
like, I'm going to take some stuff from this and practical ways to implement it in my life. But then outside of this, there's resources and ways that we can continue to learn from one another.
I love how you do it too, because it's just a conversation. I mean, this has just gone by, but you're my friend,
Right,
and I just love how you just kind of dig deep, and it's just a conversation with a friend.
I love it. And that's really what I wanted it to be, is just that natural conversation.
Right.
It doesn't have to be exactly perfectly scripted. I love being able to just take a subject.
Absolutely.
And, if one takes a little bit longer than another, great. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We have, infinite things we could always be talking about. Any guest. And that's the best part about, being able to just sit down and have a friendly conversation. What about, now we're going to talk about Fashion Week.
Ooh.
I love Fashion Week now. This will probably be one of our last subjects, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But I love that we met through Fashion Week.
Right.
You had the opportunity to host our finale show this past, I think was it spring? Yeah,
Right.
it was this past spring.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on Fashion Week? And I know that you grew up being in fashion, love fashion. So,
Yes.
Really, what does Richmond Fashion Week mean to you?
I feel like a newbie in all this because I just recently got involved in Fashion Week to see what it was and what it is, all that stuff.
Right.
And just to see it, I was just blown away because that was my first time actually going to the show, the one that I, had to MC.
And it was the finale. So
it was the finale. It was huge.
Fireworks and everything.
Yeah, it was. And it just made me realize just the amount of talent in Richmond. It was amazing, just the designers, the clothes, other entrepreneurs that were there. We tapped into, other restaurants and stuff, just that talent. Because sometimes when you think fashion, you think of the bigger cities like New York or LA and all that stuff. But that talent is right here.
Yeah.
And, I know if you mentioned Jimmy Budd here before, but Jimmy does such a good job of bringing everybody together and working on this. And
He is a professional networker.
Oh, he is. And so I just was in awe when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are really putting a lot of effort into it. The
You can
team's
tell.
grown. It's multiple people involved with it. I know that, Richmond is a great resource of talent, and we are showing that it's more than just the fashion show. I think we had a sidebar conversation about that it's really about connecting individuals of all walks of life, different creatives, restaurants, business owners, models, photographers, everyone. And it's such a great resource of planting the seed for that relationship.
Right. In charity, because they pick
organizations.
Yeah, they pick these organizations to give back to the community that they serve. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I know that was your first time involved, but that's not gonna be your last.
No. I hope not.
No,
I love
not at all.
being invited back.
You'll be in like Flynn. That's for sure. Because it's a lot of fun.
It is.
It's a lot of fun, and you get all dressed up nice. And
Oh, yeah.
that's one of my fun things is the fashion aspect of it.
And you do it. Oh, look.
It is what it is.
You do it.
A little bit.
I'm telling you.
I'll bring a little bit. I always like to keep them guessing.
Oh, yeah.
I always like to keep them guessing.
You're styling.
This past one, there was a few times where like, what you wearing this time? I'm like, I'm gonna do a little of this, and I might do this color this time. But then the finale, like, I'm not gonna tell you what I'm doing for the finale show. I'm like, no.
You were working it. I remember that.
I love it. Well, it's hard to believe, but we have.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, that was so much fun.
I know. So it just flew by. I knew it would. I knew it would. I was like, I have pages and pages of notes. I was like, we're not even going to get through half of it. But I enjoyed it. So we've got a few things that I like to kind of, as we're wrapping up on.
Okay.
And we'll do this last one, even if it goes a little bit over.
Okay.
This is my show.
Okay. Yeah, you do what you want. Mm-hmm.
So your personal style. How would you define your personal style? And then the second question is, has it changed over the years?
My personal style, I don't think it's changed.
Okay.
Because I like classic and I like timeless. I like things that I will see down the road, things that my daughter will probably go into my closet. Not to say that I don't do some trendy things. I'm a woman. I love being sexy. So if I have like a little lace or something, I like that. But I love being timeless. I remember going into my mom's closet and getting flared jeans when I was in college, things that she had when she's in her 20s that I'm wearing in college, and her leather jacket and that. So I like things that don't go out of style.
I love it. I'm the same way. I will have statement pieces that I would say, Cary Grant would wear, but we could wear them today and still be absolutely relevant. Absolutely.
And people ask, where did you get those jeans?
I'm
My
like,
mama's closet.
Right. Or I love that style that you're wearing, I'm like, yeah, this came from like 1962,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, there's ways that you can find your classic pieces. So I appreciate that.
And you see bell bottoms now in stores.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I love that. I love that. So do you feel like, have you found a inspiration in your style over the years? Do you see inspiration anywhere?
Inspiration in terms of, am I inspired by the fashion?
Yes. Where you will take something that you may see and translate it to your own.
In some ways, yes. So maybe, like I play with certain things. So I don't say I see something on a mannequin, I'm not getting that thing right off the mannequin. Right. So what is Reba's style that I can add to this? It could be whether it's a brooch or jewelry or a hat, something cool to wear with it. So I kind of like to put my own little spin on things.
So sometimes you'll see some things, and I do it as well.
Yeah.
I kind of like the direction that they're going.
Yeah.
But I'll take that and turn it into my own.
Yeah. Or I may have something in my closet. Ooh, it may look good with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it'll give me a color combination or a pattern combination that I didn't think about before, but I have in my own style.
Absolutely.
And I can carve a
that's
a great point.
me. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Well, we're getting now to the end, guys, and there's just a few I know we have a couple of rapid fire questions that I always like to do at the end. They're fun. They're fun. Not super in depth or anything like that, but I just love getting that off the cuff answer. But before we do the rapid fire questions, I always like to let my audience know how they can find you.
Oh.
So share how my audience can find you.
So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and what's the other one? Twitter. So just Reba Hollingsworth, CBS6, and that's where you can find me. But also my products, Aha Wrap and Triversa Bag. You can also find me there.
And naturally, we will have all of that information in the description below. So, all right, here's our fun rapid fire questions. And I actually, I have several of them.
Okay.
And I change them up based upon, every once in a while I'll say, okay, I've done that one for a little while, so I'm going to switch it up. Okay. So I did these on my wife today. Like I asked her these questions and then she was like, oh, and then she told me something I had no idea about. I was busting out laughing. So it was great. It was great. So here's the first one. What is one thing that you own that you probably should throw away, but you never will? My wife had the same look on her face. One thing that you probably own that, you probably should get rid of it, but we probably never will.
My wedding ring.
Okay.
Truth.
Hey, truth. Hey, you know what? It's still special.
It's still special.
Exactly. I love that. All right. And then the last question is, if I were to talk to your friends and your fellow colleagues and ask them what your superpower is, what would they say?
She sees everything. She is a mama.
So that intuition, perception, like.
Oh, yeah. So much so they call me Mama Reba. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So there you have it. Like, what's that one thing, your superpower? She's like, I can see it.
I can see it all.
Is it the gift of intuition?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that has to do a lot with ladies. Mm-hmm. I believe that. I think that's one of
feel it.
The ladies' giftings. Mm-hmm. There's been several instances in my marriage that, she has the feeling. And, and I'm like, okay, I'll trust the intuition. And sure enough, it may not be right then. A little while later.
It comes. Yeah.
It comes. So that's
it. Intuition. That's it.
Well, I've thoroughly. Time has flown by.
I know.
I'm like, man.
It's been so much fun.
I know. I've had a really great time today. Thank you again, Reba, for being with me.
Stephen. This has been great.
I appreciate that. It
really has.
All right, guys. So that's going to be our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and give us some ideas for future podcasts. Yeah. And of course, leave some go find Reba and get all of her socials and all that kind of good stuff. Give her some good feedback.
Yes.
Give her some good feedback on that fantastic outfit and shoes that she's wearing today. I love it. I love it. So we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, guys. Today's show was sponsored by my very own company, Fox Edge Grooming Products. So we have a whole line of men's grooming products that I personally use and personally helped kind of formulate and come up with the idea and concept. We use all natural ingredients, and believe you me, the whole line smells fantastic. I love it. Anybody that ever smelled it says, wow, this stuff smells great. So if you want to get your own Fox Edge hair care or beard line products, you can go to my website, which is www.stephenadkins.us, And of course, the link will be in the description below. So looking forward to seeing you guys with the Fox Edge. Appreciate you watching all the way till the end today. And thanks again for being a part of the Suit Up podcast. So we have a new way of support here at Suit Up with Patreon. You can subscribe in different tiers to support the show. The great news is that each has a different tier, and within that tier, there are different levels of access that you will have to myself, but all will support the show in a major way. So one of the tiers may be access to questions or interaction. Another tier may be an opportunity where you could submit photos or get some wardrobe advice. And even another tier, we may even be able to set up a personal Zoom call where you and I interact for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So these would be great ways that allows access to get some of those questions and some of the things that you'd like done answered. Now, naturally, if you can't support monetarily, we totally understand, but you can always subscribe for free and like and share our video with your friends and audience that you feel would enjoy watching Suit Up. So thanks again for joining.